Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on a Saturday afternoon. Um, I'm your host for today, Adrika Guha, and today we will be exploring a very different industry than we have already. So, once again, thank you for joining us, and I'd like to invite you all to the industry based meetups we have been doing for a while at GeekyAnts now. We explored fintech in the past, and today we will be talking a little bit into the healthcare industry. We'll be exploring a little bit more about the healthcare industry. We have an amazing line of industry leaders with really valuable insights for you all to benefit from today. So stay tuned for that and also follow us on all social media channels. Also, if you're thinking why we are doing this dedicated healthcare industry based meetup, uh, to be honest, we just have a simple answer for that. We have been working very closely with the healthcare industry for a long time now, and we have gained so much from them over the years. We thought it would just be nice to share the same with the world. To tell you a little bit more about why and where we are trying to go with this entire meetup and community, I would like to introduce you to our keynote speaker for the day, Pramada Sahu. She leads the partnerships at GeekyAnts, and she would be giving you a better insight about what Ants had been involved with in the past in the healthcare industry and what we are planning to do with it. So, welcome to the stream, Pramada. Good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Adrika.
How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing good.
Awesome. So, like I
Thank
said, this is the very first healthcare meetup. Is there something we should totally be looking forward to? Is there a goal we are trying to achieve through this, or is this something we are just starting to explore? If you can just let the audience know a little bit about what we are trying to do.
Certainly. Thank you so much, Adrika. Swami Vivekanand has once said, rightly said, that we all have one purpose in life is to help and serve others. So, what better way to do that than through healthcare? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this very exciting first healthcare meetup, which is happening in Geeky Ants. Uh, Before we kickstart the session, I would like to personally thank to all the speakers who have taken out their precious time to share their thoughts around digital healthcare. And also a big shout out to everyone who has joined us remotely. I'm sure you will have some insightful thoughts around what is digital healthcare and what's happening in and around Geeky Ants, and also where the industry is shaping across. Uh, Now that we all have come out of COVID-19 pandemic very painfully, we have we have completely understood what important role our healthcare providers and professionals take in our lives. We still remember those days where we were using those telemedicine applications, for which country like India, where we have a population of 138 crore, uh, all of us were understood that what is important of going digital, how to use practical applications, and how to reach those medical reports, and how to consult your doctors, right? Making healthcare accessible and affordable to everyone is very important. And India, who has the back strength in the IT industry, I'm sure going digital would be the only solution. India is using this digital program to ensure that we are making healthcare accessible to each and everyone. Of course, using those digital technologies, we can certainly make healthcare affordable as well. Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he had announced last year that telehealth is the future of healthcare. In that 75th independence, he had understood that, during the pandemic, how we have accelerated using those digital stuff, which was not actually happening all this while. He had understood the mission of the telemedicine is the future of healthcare, and that's where in our Ayushman Bharat digital program, he has very much insisted, and he is coming up with a one nation and one health card program. This healthcare digital healthcare mission is actually very important for all of us in India, who we should understand the importance of healthcare, and also how we should use digitally to ensure that we are keeping all our health records. In this health card, we are going to keep record of each and every individual's medical records, treatments, tests, medical histories also. You must be wondering, oh my God, this healthcare is so complicated because we have so many stakeholders. We have physicians, we have providers, we have pharmacies, we have different hospitals, clinics. How are we going to connect to everybody? And that's the challenge healthcare industry is certainly facing, and that's where we are coming up with this national health program, national health card, where all the individuals records will be put in digitally. This is going to be very tough, and I'm sure this solution can only given via technically, right? Also, government is coming up with a centralized system where all these stakeholders are going to talk to each other, and it's going to be very difficult mission, not like what Aadhaar card implementation was. But I'm sure if companies like GeekyAnts is going to come forward and help this mission, I'm sure India is going to lead that trend certainly. Of course, when you are using your national health card, your consent is very important. Nobody can access your data without your permission. But yeah, if you create your health card, certainly accessing your data, your health records becomes very easy for your providers to give you the right treatment, to give you the better outcome. Yes, so here we are. Before we kickstart the session, I would like to, touch upon very few important pointers. Right now, healthcare, as I said, is very complicated. Everybody is, working in different silos. The healthcare ecosystem has to come into one platform, and how we can do that? That's where our technical people are going to help us. Okay, so it's very important that different stakeholders they come on the same platform. We can't work in silos. It is very important that all of us come together, participate, and start contributing. And that would be one of the successful mission of Ayushman Bharat Digital Program. Second important thing is very important for this session is that how India is going to help to ensure that all of us are able to access diagnostics and medicines digitally. That is certainly we are going to see in our sessions where our speakers are going to talk about. Certainly, while we are talking about healthcare, we cannot leave data. Data plays a very important role for the providers to do the right decisions, to see how your data is actually giving them the right insights to take the right treatment. And yes, if we have data, then data security is very important. In our session, our speakers are going to talk about how HIPAA compliance and other compliances are very important, and how our technology will integrate and ensure that these HIPAA compliant applications are built. So, not taking your much time, I would want to talk about those speakers. So, we have 4 speakers today. You can see in the screen, we have Amit, Shubham, Gaurav Porwal, and Dr. Aleena, who has taken out her precious time to talk about this industry. So, yes, with not taking much time, I would want to pass on the speaker to our first speaker, Amit Jain, who is going to talk about improving patient care with healthcare analytics. Over to you, Amit.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Hope I am loud and clear. I'm audible to everybody, right? So, let me introduce brief about myself. That Amit Jain, working in IT industry from last 20 years, and working on the data, working on the fintech solutions, and also right now we are focusing more on the healthcare data, how we can improve, or how we can help the patient or the population of country like India, right? So how do we provide the low cost and cost effective solutions to the people of India, basically, right? So let me just share my slide deck around it, and then we can go through it and understand what I'm talking about over here. So the topic which I'm going to pick up is about how to improve the patient care with the healthcare data analytics, right? So the what is data analytics? I think that we need to understand first. In the today's world, everyone is generating a data. Your car is generating a data. Your phone is generating a data. Your wearable devices are generating a data, right? And this data is basically once this data is collected, it will be analyzed by the models. There are software where machine artificial intelligence who analyzes your data basically, right? And your data, and it can predict what is going to happen in near future. Are you really leading your healthy life, or what kind of the habits you have incurred, and your health conditions can be monitored and measured by your data that you generate through the various
Hi.
devices, right?
Hi, Amit. Sorry to stop you there. I think your presentation needs to be shared. I am not being able to view it. If you could
Okay,
just share the
sure.
presentation notes. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about it. So let me just share it again. Um, is it visible now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Sorry about it. I
No
missed to share my screen, right? So the today's topic, what I'm talking about, is the improving of the patient care with the healthcare data analytics. How do we improve the experience and predict the medical, the health condition of the patient, basically? How, what kind of life they are leading it by collecting the data from the different sources. The sources can be their wearable devices. The sources can be your medical procedure. During your medical procedure, your data is getting collected from the labs, from the hospitals, from the clinics, right? So that data help us to understand and analyze it, to predict about your health, the kind of lifestyle you are leading it, the kind of health condition you have it right now, and how it is going to be in near future. Are you going to be going to incur some critical illnesses or all? That can be predicted based on your past historical data that we have collected over the period of time, right? So it basically help us to predict and help us to get ready to prevent the any such upcoming events which can be avoided, right? So that's about the data analytics. And what is healthcare data? So healthcare data is about data about your the data about your health, which we have collected it from the different source of information. It may be your hospitals, it may be your labs, it may be your wearable devices. Your insurance companies are collecting your data, right? So all these data gets collected to a centralized place, and this and then now the trend is basically all this data going to be stored in a centralized place on cloud, and on the data whatever we have collected, it would go under a big data processing. So we can train the models, we can predict so these models would be able to predict the upcoming events, and these would help us to avoid the any such mishappenings have going to happen, which is going to happen to the patient. This would reduce the cost of the treatment, because we are able to avoid certain events for the patient, right? So the slide now, what I'm talking about, the source of healthcare data. What are the ways we are collecting a data? So you have a medical claims, and you have a mobile data where you have wearable devices, your hospital bills, right? Your clinical, your labs, your pharmacy. All these are actually collecting a data about a person, right? And this data from our various sources gets stored to a big data storage, which we are now on a trend storing a data on a cloud, which is on a FH, which is a fire, which we call it the fire compliance data storage, right? And which is a HIPAA compliance, secured, and as Pramada mentioned, that based on the consent, this data can be shared with the consent of the patient. Data can be shared to the healthcare provider, who would be able to predict, who would be able to analyze basically what kind of treatment you have been undergone, right? And what kind of, so based on your historical treatment, the upcoming, the new treatments can be given, because your healthcare information is already handily available to the healthcare practitioner, right? So Once the data is collected, this slide talk about how the data is basically collected and then stored and how it can be used for making it convert it to an action basically. So if you look at we are collecting a data from the, if you look at from the left side, we have a clinical data, we have data from the various devices, third parties, and other data information which gets stored to the centralized data store, which is a Azure FHIR. We have worked on Azure FHIR, so we are naming it here. So right, and once the data is collected to the FHIR server, this data can go under a processing or for a big data analytics, right? On it can, we can run a machine learning, we can run a artificial intelligence, and we will be able to predict the lifestyle of the person, the health condition of the person, right? So that helps or to avoid and to predict and avoid certain diseases for the patients, basically, right? So that is how then this is how the data gets stored, and this is how the data can be used to predict certain events which is going to happen in future, right? What is the importance of healthcare data? So digital healthcare data, which is collected from various sources, right, can be analyzed, right? And it can be analyzed. So analysis happen based on your historical healthcare information and the current condition of your health condition, and together we can predict how the behavior or the health condition of the patients, right? If you look at the example of COVID-19 pandemic, right, the big data or the data analytics data collected from a various source across the globes, across the countries, and across the states, right? We were able to predict that when is the surge going to happen, when is it is going to reduce, when the spread is going to come down. And so the hospitals and the government agencies were well prepared, or they were aware of it, that when what kind of situation we are going to encounter it, and so that the hospitals and healthcare providers were on alert or on standby to handle such situations, right? So that's where it helps a lot in the pandemic, that we were able to predict the surge and the curves when it is going to go down, basically, right? So how healthcare help us to provide a solution? So if we have a centralized healthcare storage for everybody in the nation, right, it helps to, so everyone carry their health information as in the form of health card, right? Wherever he goes along with health card, his information can be shared to the any hospitals, right? And hospitals will be able to understand the kind of treatment he has gone under, right? And can provide the solution, basically the kind of treatment he has to go under, he should be given. So that helps a lot to avoid any such risk, any or any prediction. So it avoids the potential risk for major surgeries and things like that, right? So that is where the healthcare analytics helps to provide the solution, and it reduces the lot of cost which incurs if you have to go under any major surgeries. And also if you are able to predict about a person that you are going to face this certain medical situation which can be avoided if you start taking certain cares about your health, right? So that is how the healthcare analytics provide the solution for it. Healthcare analytics helps to reduce the cost because we are able to avoid, or we are able to prevent certain risk for the patients, right? And that helps for the healthcare system to be available for the other patient, because we were able to save the people to go to a major surgeries and major risk. So that helps to reduce the cost. That helps to reduce the cost to the even the insurance companies also, because they need not to the bear the cost if the patient goes under the surgeries. And also that helps for that reduces the cost for the insurance companies as well as the patients also, right? And based on the healthcare analytics, we can even predict the appointment no shows also, and supply chain management cost also. Basically, we would be able to predict based on the historical behavior. We can predict that the person is going to attend the appointments or he will be on no show. If no show, then the healthcare providers can release the slots for the other patients to come and attend the sessions, basically. So that's how It helps to optimize the resource utilizations because and reduces the cost which it's going to incur because of the no shows or certain other situations. Right. So, what are the use cases which we have analyzed and which we have worked on? Basically, we can create a risk score for a chronic diseases for the each patient, right? Based on the historical data, we can predict that what is the risk score of the individual one, right? We can beforehand we can predict to about the patient before the situation gets deteriorate for the patients, right? We can predict the behavior of the treatment. Let's say that we start giving certain medicine to the set of people, right? And we collect the data, and we can measure the efficiency of the new medicines or whatever medicines we have, whatever new treatments giving it to the patients. We can even predict the efficiency of the treatment. We can even the healthcare data which we're talking about, the health card, person can carry its own health card and can be shared with the any of the healthcare providers, the hospitals, right? So we call it as a data interoperability, right? So this helps a lot to the new healthcare hospitals to understand the situations and immediately provide the treatment. They can start the treatment without losing a time. So it saves a lot of time and cost to to understand the historical health information about the persons, right? It provides it can even healthcare analytics even can understand the mental situations or things like so, which can even we can understand and predict that if the person is in a suicidal tendencies, or if we can, and we can actually save them to go to the extreme stage. So this is where also we can use the healthcare analytics about to understand and to help the patients about it. What is the roadmap going to be? So a roadmap, what we have seen in a trend and globally, it's going to happen. It's happening in India. It started in India also, where the earlier the each hospital was sitting on the data with the patients, and they were not ready to share the data with the other clinical or hospitals, right? And the labs were sharing a data in terms of hard copies and all, right? So now what we have seen that trend that every data is getting converted to a digital form, right? And it's getting collected. It's once the data is getting collected, the we are able to do the machine learning data analytics and all, right? So and we are able to we can predict what kind of treatment should be given, and this data can be shared to any of the hospital across the country or across the globe based on the consent of the persons, right? So this is going to create a major change or the major shift the way we are operating. We were operating it earlier before pandemic, and now we have seen that pandemic. We have opened up the. We have allowed people to share their data with across the hospitals and also, right, so that the government agencies and healthcare can would know about it, the potential. It can identify the gaps and fix the problems and be ready to provide the with the healthcare facilities to provide the to provide it to the patient, basically, right? So this is how what we see the healthcare is going to do a major shift in the way we have been seeing the way it is being treated to the patient, right? We will be able to give more better predictions based on the data, and we would this would really reduce the cost of the treatment, because we would be able to avoid certain major surgeries and things like that. So that's how I see the healthcare is going to change a lot in this medical healthcare verticals. And we'll have the technology is going to is going to play a bigger role to do this data analytics and help like this. So that's how I see. We see a bright future about the healthcare analytics in this medical industries. I think we will be having a bigger role to play, and I think everyone's will have a bigger opportunity, bigger responsibility to play, to carry on their shoulders, to contribute to make this world better. That's how it is from my side. Thank you. Anything else we can discuss in the sessions?
Uh, Thank you, Amit, so much for the lovely talk. I think we don't realize, but tech has so much effect on every industry we have been exploring now. And healthcare, when we think about it, it's mostly around everything people are doing just at the hospitals and things like that, according to people. The back end work is not being recognized, or how it's making life easier is not being recognized. So I think, like you said, better prediction equals to better treatment outcome, less risk, and avoiding illnesses, and which eventually equals to less cost. I think that
Yes.
is going to be the future. I mean, a good future to look forward to. Thank you so much
Yes.
for giving us an insight on the same. I'm sure we will be probably heading into this future pretty soon. And it would be very, very easy for everybody who has been very far from this thought that healthcare cannot be just right in front of our fingertips. So I think maybe we should look forward to that.
Yeah, what I see basically our healthcare team basically, right? They are overburdened because the facility is limited and that, right? So I think now it is a time where the IT tech companies or IT techs has to take some burdens from them, right? And they contribute towards it. So
Yeah.
that they can do the better treatment to the and provide the treatment to the mass of the people.
Correct, correct. Awesome. Thank you so much, Amit. It was really great to have you here for the talk. Moving on to the next speaker for the day. It's Gaurav Porwal. He has been working with GeekyAnts for close to 6 years now. He's more known as Gaurav Bhaiya. Today he'll be talking about what's HIPAA and how do we implement it. So, Gaurav, over to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Adrika. And yes, everybody's calls me Gaurav Bhaiya. It's too old.
Yeah, you've been here for a while now, so why
Yeah,
not? So welcome Gaurav Bhaiya to the stream. And why don't you take us through something we really need to know about the healthcare and what is HIPAA and how do we get to implement it?
sure. Thank you, Adrika. So, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first healthcare meetup. Today, I'm gonna speak about what's HIPAA and how do we implement it. In next few minutes, I will be covering what it is, what are the basic components of HIPAA, and how do we translate this HIPAA components into our development workflow. Uh, a bit introduction about myself. I'm Gaurav Porwal. I'm an associate director of engineering at GeekyAnts. I'm a tech enthusiast and love building products using cutting edge technologies. Over the weekend, you can find me roaming around with my laptop and googling something and learning new things. Even my wife calls my laptop as my second wife. All right. So moving on. So the big thing. What is HIPAA? HIPAA basically stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability. And that's it. That's HIPAA. I know you guys will be thinking, could you please elaborate? So the basic definition of HIPAA is something like this. HIPAA is an act which was established in 96. It's a federal law that establishes data and privacy security for government organizations. It protects confidentiality and security of health data by enforcing standards. It also improves efficiency in healthcare delivery by standardizing electronic data interchange. Yeah, I guess that's simple, right? So those were the basic definition. Let me clarify what actually HIPAA means, like in simple terms. So in HIPAA, what things are included is the encryption of the data, like end to end, everything should be encrypted. Then we should be respecting user privacy. It also lays down rules and regulation how the logging of all the PHI data should be done. It helps you set up the control processes across the industries. It laid down the guidance of storing audit data. It makes sure that the data which you are accessing are from the authorized users, and unauthorized user has been put into different bracket, right? It laid down the policies for the password which are standardized across the industry and which is very difficult to crack. It also enforces the encrypted data backups, and last but not the least, having a disaster recovery plan in place. So whenever there is a attempt to data breach, we can alert them to the respective department, and they can take adequate actions within a minute, right? So if we try to understand HIPAA, it basically says that You don't have to store anything plain English text into the database, but rather encrypt them, store them behind the database, and also make sure that the database is behind a solid infrastructure which is highly scalable and secure, right? So that nobody from the outside world can access the data. So that basically the main job of the HIPAA, right? So, talking about what are the goals of HIPAA. First, there are like two primary purpose of HIPAA. One is to secure personal health information, and second is to establish standardization for the electronic transmission of health and information. So, yeah, that's a big boom once the HIPAA compliance was established in after 1996. What are the key benefit which HIPAA has provided is that the way hospitals or the organization are exchanging information of the users, right? Because of the HIPAA strict guidelines and rules, there is lot of standardization and lot of privacy has put into picture, and privacy plays a very big role in HIPAA compliance, and they are been taking at P1 priority for it. Right? Also, HIPAA has helped us to enhance the electronic and physical security of personal and health information, which is, I believe, like nowadays everybody is concerned whether data is secure or not. So HIPAA makes sure of that. Right? HIPAA has also helped in reducing healthcare fraud and abuses. Because since the data is secure and it has educating the people how to use those things, right, and everything is behind a secure vault kind of thing. So the frauds which are taking place in the healthcare industry are drastically decreasing due to HIPAA compliances. Last or not but not the least, because of the standardized protocols which HIPAA compliance has established, it has simplified the billing and other transactions which happens between hospital to hospital or between organization to organization. So it is very easy and seamless in with the implementation of the HIPAA compliances. So in terms, if I summarize everything, HIPAA compliance basically makes our data is safe and secure, and we can freely sleep in the night without worrying about what will happen to my medical records or to my personal information. So, moving on to other topics, let me just explain what is protected health information. So, I've been talking a lot about like encryption data and securing the personal information. But what comes under PHI? What we need to be protected, right? So, PHI is the information in a medical record of an individual. This simply means that any medical history which we are capturing from the user, it comes as part of PHI. This information can be created, used, or disclosed in the course of providing a healthcare service, which means that even the conversation which you are doing with your patient and between the doctor, that also part of PHI. Even the billing, billing or your prescriptions, everything are part of PHI. The PHI also has two forms, mainly the physical and the digital form. If it is digital, then it is called e-PHI. So some of the few common example of PHI are MRI scan, blood test results, billing information from your doctor, appointment scheduling notes. Even nowadays, the smartphone who are capturing your number of calories or number of steps using smartphones, right? That also come as part of PHI. So everything which is under PHI has to follow all the HIPAA compliance, and that has to be protected and make it very secure. Now let's talk about what are the building blocks of HIPAA, right? What are the main pillars on which the HIPAA compliance are built on? But before jumping onto that, let me just clarify that there's no HIPAA certification which you'll get it, right? But HIPAA is basically a governing body who has laid down few rules and guidelines which individual or organization has to follow, and if any violation of the rule, then this governing body has the authority to audit your infrastructure, audit your databases, audit your web application, and if they find you guilty, then they can even put financial penalties on you, right? So this is basically a governing body who has laid down few rules and guidelines. Now let's just talk about what are the main building blocks of HIPAA compliances. First rule is privacy. So privacy basically means that you should not be sharing any of the confidentiality information with of any user which can be a patient, doctor, or basically meaning that any PHI data you should not be sharing without proper check, right? And privacy means like you can have your medical records, bills, subscription, conversation between doctors or healthcare executives, right? So all this comes as part of privacy, and privacy is a number one priority in HIPAA compliances. Second is the security of this thing, right? No unauthorized user should be able to access your data. Only the authorized user should be able to do it, right? So HIPAA compliance has put out some rules and regulations on which every organization or the web portal has to follow those security checks if they want to be a HIPAA compliant, right? And this HIPAA compliant basically means like in the security, it means that if somebody is able to access an physical area also who is not supposed to do it, that also a breach of a security. So these all aspects like physical area, digital documents, or the data of PHI data should be kept secure as much as possible. The next is enforcement rule. Enforcement rule basically says that any business authority or the your stakeholder who are part of your organization should also follow the HIPAA compliances, meaning that the business partners who are helping you build your infrastructure, or let's say you are deploying your application to AWS cloud, right? So AWS also should be responsible of implementing HIPAA compliances, right? And this enforcement rule enables that. Enforcement rule also helps you lay down the rules and guidelines. What if and also the measures, like if any security breach happen, what are the steps we need to take, or what are the ways to evaluate there's a security breach. So it also laid down some of the ground rules for security breach as well. Last but not the least, breach notification rule. So this rule basically helps you notify if there is a security breach in your infrastructure, right? So let's suppose if some unauthorized user is able to access your data, then notification has to be sent to your security team as well as to the user that somebody is trying to access your account, or somebody is giving you wrong password for, let's say, a couple of 2 or 3 times, right? So then the security breach rule says that you should send a notification or a email or some way you should communicate to your end user saying that somebody is trying to access your account. So these all four things, which includes privacy rule, security rule, enforcement rule, and breach notification rule, combined together forms a HIPAA compliance, and these are the four major pillars of HIPAA. If somebody has to be HIPAA compliant, then they have to follow all these rules and guidelines laid by HIPAA compliance. Moving on, so we have till now we have discussed about what are the rules and regulations which we need to follow, but how do we apply these rules to? So basically we have different means of web portals which the end user interact with, and these web portals can be as simple as hospital or doctor website, or a bit complicated like patient portal or online pharmacy, treatment or therapy applications, or on mobile healthcare apps, or nowadays the smartwatches. All these are the different modes on which we need to apply the HIPAA compliances. Now, how do we do that? So, in order to do that, I have divided the HIPAA compliances into three tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And based on the complexity of the application, there are different variation of HIPAA implementation. So, we'll look into the next slides. The first slide is tier 1. This basically means that all the static website or non-HIPAA compliant portals, like who is just sharing information, like a hospital website who is telling what are the facilities it provides, right? They come under tier 1. And in this typical websites, what information we generally capture is we generally signs a agreement or a onboarding form we fill up, right? So that's the only data which these websites are capturing. So in order to make it HIPAA compliant, what we can do is like we can add a SSL certificate to your website. So what SSL certificate does is it encrypts all your data which is going through your network, right? So that it becomes very difficult for the hackers to identify what data or what information has been relayed from your website to your to the internet. Also, please note that in tier 1 websites, we are not storing any information related to the user into our web server. If you want to send data or anything, we can use HIPAA compliant email boxes, which will directly send an email to the user, and it will also keep a record of it. But we are not storing any data to our server. And those kind of websites or user interfaces or the applications uh, lie under tier 1 HIPAA compliance. Then there is a second type of web application, which are web apps that stores data. For example, online pharmacies or treatment portals, right? So like first step is basically like put the SSL certificate, so that at least the data which is going over the network is secured. But there are additional steps which we need put in place. Is the first, and which is very major, is hosting environment like AWS or Google or Azure portal, right? This all has to be HIPAA compliant. And what I mean by that this the web application where we are storing our data, right, has to be behind a private VPN or behind a private firewall which is protecting our data. And this data has to be dump into encrypted databases. If there's a media file like image or video or file medical history, those has to be encrypted using file store. And AWS has a lot of good services which by default are HIPAA compliant. For example, in S3 bucket, you can enable the encryption protocol, which will make sure that all the files which are uploaded onto the S3 bucket are encrypted by default and which are shared over the network. Now moving on to the third tier, this one is bit extension of the tier 2. In here, what we are saying is that the application can retrieve the data plus as well as we can edit the data. Meaning that was, for example, you have an online telemedicine, so the healthcare doctor can update the medical history of the user. So it is retrieving data as well as it is updating the stages of the patient, right? For example, the patient was diagnosed with diabetic 1, then it was then it was moved, then it was diagnosed to stage 2. So these are the updation which the doctor can do it, right? So all the such application where we are fetching the data, storing the data, and as well as editing the data are comes under tier 3. So the normals, as usual, like you have to add like SSL certificate, hosting environment should be HIPAA compliant, right? You should have the encrypted database, file stores, everything, right? That's what we have discussed previously. But along with that, we should also be adding user level monitoring and logging system, so that we should to see what kind of writes we are doing into our database, right? And also we should add a proper authorization check, like who is trying to access which record. So all those checks has to be added into our application layer as well as the database layer. Along with that, there should be a disaster recovery system should be set up, because let's say if there is a breach happen, then our disaster recovery should alert our security team and they should shut down the AWS cloud immediately, so that nobody can access our databases. So such system has to be there. And this is how we are implementing the HIPAA compliance based on different types of application. Same implementation will not be there for each and every. There are the different variations are there, right? uh, Moving on, so let's just think from now architecture point of view, right? How do we implement these things? What are the checklists which we should be considering when we are building any application? The first and the foremost is like access control safeguard, which is nothing but an authentication check. So what it does is like you should have a login page before even allowing a user to enter your web application, right? And each patient or doctor should be linked to a unique UUID. This UUID should be unreadable and should not be predictable. For example, if you assign a patient A as integer id 1 or patient B as integer id 2, so this becomes predictable and this is easily hackable. So you should make sure that the database which you are using is using unique UUID, and everywhere in the database you are referring the user with the UUID rather than using the actual username or credential. Also, we should be using encrypted data fields For example, whenever we are storing the password of the user, we should make sure that we are using the plain text and making a hash value out of it, and that hash value we are storing into the database. We are not storing directly the raw password which the user is sending. So that's the encryption thing. And third thing which we can follow is like role based data access, that is putting a proper permission check, scope check, role check at both application and at the database layer, so that we'll know that if some user A is trying to access the data of other user, then we can restrict them. For example, if a receptionist is trying to view the patient record, then they should only be seeing with the record which they are assigned to. They should not be seeing whole organization database, right? So those are the role based access check which we should put in place. A simple example of it is like I have put it as Firebase collection. I'm showing a user profile and a record, right? So, and I'm putting a security rule that the user should be authenticated, that is auth at line number 22. If you see that auth is not equal to null, and also the request which is coming in should match with their own user ID. So that's a simple rule which you should put in place whenever you're deploying your data to the production, right? So that it ensures that user is able to access their own data, not any other's data. Moving on, the second is the security check. Like one thing which we discuss about is the log, right? That is not sufficient in today's time. We should also be enabling two-factor authentication. If user is putting email and password to log in, then there should be an OTP to be sent to their mobile number, or a push notification has to be sent over the email, right? Who the user has to check and authorize themselves that yes, I am the correct person and I am verifying myself at two places. So this reduces a lot of chances that user credentials are compromised. Second is that we should use the in built capability of the operating system. For example, whenever we are building a phone application, right, a mobile app, we should make sure that we are using the face ID lock or the pin code or the fingerprint lock, right, which are pre-built in the OS operating system itself, right? Those are the security which the operating system is providing to us. So that is very necessary when we are building such secure systems, right? Also, we should make sure that when any sensitive information of user, let's say a token or the password or the bank details, are not saved into the local storage, but rather we should use a keychain, which is a much more secure way of storing the data onto your mobile phones. Thirdly, there is a chance that sometimes the application or the phone can get lost, right? So there should be a capability in the mobile phone to wipe out all the data remotely, even if the phone is lost, right? So these all are the guidelines we should put in place when we are doing any development for a HIPAA compliant application. Next is the hosting environment. In the hosting environment, what we should mainly focus is firewall and the security aspect of it. Like we can put a transit gateway which will be talking to the internet, and all the requests will be coming to one single port, which is our gateway, and gateway will talk to our VPN subnets, right? No outside world can talk to our subnets directly. Only the gateway which we are establishing, which we are putting place, is talking to the subnets, right? Along with the VPN, we should be also having the databases which are by default encrypted, file storage, right? These are the common things which we can put in place. The main thing which we should also be focusing on is onto the deployment pipeline. Many times whenever we are deploying the code using CI/CD pipelines, right, we hard code the security rules in there, right, or security sensitive information we hard code in the build pipeline itself. But that should not be there. We should ideally use a key vault to retrieve the data, retrieve the key or the config files from a security vault, and then putting into a build pipeline, so that even if our build pipelines are compromised, we know that our config files are kept securely in some other place. This way we are distributing our config into multiple places, which becomes even more difficult for any hacker to hack the things. Uh, next is the disaster recovery. So yes, we do know, we even if we set a lot of good infrastructure, right, we put a lot of secure mechanism, but there is a chances that the the hackers are able to breach our secure network due to some leakage, right? So in order to do that, what steps we should be following is that we should have a proper monitoring and logging system. We should also provide forensic level logging. This means that we should be capturing the IP address of the incoming request. We should be capturing a request header, response headers. We should be capturing the what's the byte data payload size which is getting transmitted. So every minute thing we should be capturing in our logs. Along with that, we should also be making sure that our data backup which is happening are all encrypted by default, right? Whenever we are putting a snapshot of the current database, it should be encrypted and kept somewhere, and the encryption key should be kept in the key vault. Next is the monitoring file changes using an intrusion prevention services, and also we should be establishing a push notification services, so that we should be able to alert the respective department whenever there is a data breach. Let's just look at few of the services which is available right now in the cloud environment, such as and which are by default HIPAA compliant, right? For example, we have Amazon EC2 instance, EBS, Elastic Load Balancing, S3, Amazon DynamoDB, Redis. All these services which Amazon is providing are by default HIPAA compliant. That means whatever the things which we have discussed so far are by default available in this cloud service, and you just have to go and enable the config files. That as is easy as it is. um, Along with the AWS, I have also listed on few of the reference links like AWS, Google. You can even look at the developer guideline, which tells you what are the best practices when implementing HIPAA compliances. Also, I have shared a link which helps you integrate the MongoDB with your application, how you can make the MongoDB HIPAA compliant, right? So yeah, that's all from my end. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Gaurav. I think it kind of is like a surprise that there's so much going on from the back end, even when we probably download a simple app like a healthcare app. I think the first thing is like, can we access your data? And then there's this question, should I let them? Or even if I don't let them, I don't get into the app. So the users are in a space that they have to accept without knowing what actually is being done with that data, right? And that can be a little scary at times because we do not want to share our information. But it's good to know that there is privacy, there is security, confidentiality being considered and taken it to such a big level. I mean, thank you. It was very, very valuable and extremely insightful. Amazing presentation. Great work with the memes. Totally relatable.
Thank you so much.
I Gaurav, you have anything to say about like, do you think these implementations will still take a lot of time to fall into place, or these are already halfway through? Is it being done for every new thing that is coming up? Is it like a mandatory thing right now, or what?
Yeah, these are few of the things are best practices which the cloud services are already providing. As I mentioned, the AWS or the Google or the Azure, they are by default HIPAA compliant. So now as a developer, you don't have to make sure that each and every security or the HIPAA compliant rule has been followed. These platform is self providing it, right? So this has made lot of easiness and ease out the development process as well, Adrika. Like even with few config changes, you can become a HIPAA compliant, right? Though you do have to think from a security aspect, like there should be proper check should be done internally also before we go onto the production side. But yeah, the cloud native applications are helping a lot in and ease out our development workflow.
Makes sense. Awesome. Thank you so much, Gaurav. We're so glad to have you. Um, Everyone who is watching us right now, we'll be taking a short break. Maybe you all can get a cup of coffee and join us back again for the stream. We have an amazing line of speakers still left, so do join us after the break. Shubham would be giving his talk right after the break, and also please follow us on all the social media handles. We'll be right back. Thank you. Hello. Welcome back. I hope everybody got their necessary amount of break, got a cup of tea or coffee or water. Don't forget to hydrate. It's extremely important, especially when we are literally on a meetup of healthcare. Let's start with taking care of ourselves. Also, to now continue the meetup, we have another amazing speaker with us today, Shubham Palaskar. He is going to give you insight on the importance of data visualization in healthcare. So Shubham, he says he enjoys working with numbers, and apparently he has a superpower where he can often gain insights from a collection of data. Also, to give you a little more information about Shubham, he has begun his work in data analysis after completing the Credential of Readiness program through Harvard Business School. And he volunteers as Pune's waste management program as a volunteer and is also a member of Global Shaper Community of the World Economic Forum. And very separate from all this, he loves badminton and trekking. So, Shubham, would you like to give an insight on what is going on here? You are an all rounder, as we can see. How are you doing?
And thanks, Adrika, for the introduction. So it's not like I'm doing it the right way. It's in the process. So I have been doing this since long. So it's nice that I'm working and I'm liking basically.
Awesome. You're very lucky that you still have the lights on. I just faced a power cut. I'm so
Oh,
sorry
that's
about that.
that's no.
But yeah, over to you, Shubham. Why don't you go ahead and start with the presentation? Thank you.
Yep, definitely. So hi everyone. Good evening. First of all, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk. I will speak on the importance of data visualization in healthcare industry. A quick background about me, like I have been working in healthcare industry. Let me just- Hi. So sorry for the lag. So I will speak on the topic importance of data visualization in healthcare. First of all, what's data visualization? It's a graphical representation of data and information. There are data sets which lies in the range of small data sets and complex data sets. So it's very essential for getting analysis through the big data set, right? So data visualization is done by the charts, graphs, and the tools that we use for the data visualizations are Excel, Tableau, Power BI, and Spotfire. Data visualization is an important part of forecasting, and even it's useful in finding the trends of historical data. Let's say a company is trying to launch a product, but they want to look at the numbers of the similar product which has launched earlier. Okay, like they want to see the revenue in 2014 2014 year, where the revenue was high, or in 2018 whether the revenue was down. So due to this, it gets the seasonality and helps in predicting the future forecast. Okay. So next is how data visualizations is helpful. Let me just give one example. Sometime back, a global company wanted that they should have the software to look at the analysis for their scenarios, like business scenarios. So they asked to make one software. The other company did that, and no doubt about that, they did it correctly. But one thing, for every scenario, it used to take around 3 to 4 hours. So scenario here, I mean, in terms of pharmaceutical industry, there are multiple data points. Like you have the patient's data, you have the units sold, you have revenue, you have brand shares, market shares, and so many things. So it's practically difficult to run a scenario for, like, it's practically difficult to run a scenario in a longer time. We need the dashboard which can be run in very short amount of time. So the request was reconsidered again, and in the next time the result was shocking. The earlier, for every single scenario, the time was 3 to 4 hours, but next time when the dashboard was created, through the data visualization, it used to be around 2 minutes only. So next time when there is business meeting, you can quickly refresh the data within 2 minutes, and then provide the insights as per the user requirement. So that kind of importance the data visualization is having. Data visualization is again creates more user engagement, and the message that the analysis we trying to convey to the audience, it's more clear. So dashboards are basically the single source where you can get the complex data sets from the different files and bring it together, and through that dashboard or single source file, you can produce the charts, or you can have the different bar graphs, or whichever the slides that you require. So data visualization again, it's very useful in presenting the analysis. um, Again, if I want to categorize the dashboards into two types, I would say the traditional dashboards and advanced dashboards. So here are the quick snippets of the traditional dashboard. Like on the top left, you can see there are tables. Below that, there is the waterfall chart. On the right, there is the line chart. Okay, so this is again the part of data visualization only. However, we can produce this type of analysis with the limited data sets. What if you have the lakhs of data points, and then in such a scenario, it's very difficult to produce such analysis like the way we are doing over here. For and We know that post COVID era, many of the things are getting into the digital. Like the patients, we have the more patients record on digital. Then the laboratory tests are there. Hospital management data have been put it on the digital sources. So as the industry is moving, we also need that we should get the accurate results within a short amount of time. And I can quickly show how the advanced data visualization examples look like. So there's one thing that we can notice between the advanced and traditional dashboards are basically the two-dimensional, like where we can fetch um, the data, and then we can produce the analysis. Okay, but in terms of advanced data visualization, we can do the analysis on the real time basis. So first example here is heat map. Okay, uh, we have been using heat map in like across the industries, right? But in pharmaceutical, again, it plays a very important role. Let's say there is one pharmaceutical company, and they are working in chronic disease therapeutic area, cancer. So cancer has different stages, and like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and company wants to know in which stage the number of patients or a number of patients are lying. Okay, uh, because for every stage there can be different sets of drugs, and then there are other patients also who are having comorbidity. So it's very important for an organization to know in which stage the patient pool is lying. So if we see at this heat map, on the left we can see the green colored section. So if we say this is like stage 1 or moderate uh, cancer stage, then slowly as the disease progresses, we can see on the extreme right, it's red section. So people with the critical health condition, with the comorbidity or stage 3 cancer, they will fall into this category. And this is utmost important for the any industry to know, and to get the patient treated rightly. Like even in, if I'm talking in the business context, company needs this much information, and for the right amount of treatment at the right time, the organization should look from the patient's point of view. So this is heat map. And then we have the milestone tracker. Again, we use the milestone tracker across the industry. Here, if we look at the clinical trial milestone status, let's say a pharmaceutical company is having some products in pipeline. I mean, they will launch the product in next 7 to 8 year example. And the launch of any drug journey is too long, right? Like starting from research and developing the drug to the different clinical trials, and then launching it in the market. So during this long journey, it's very essential for an organization to keep the track. And in all this due time, there can be other competitor who has launched their own product, or the competitor has merged any other venture, and then that can be a competition for our product. So it's necessary to keep the track after every point of time, like if there are any data refreshed, or the launch of any new drug has been coming into the picture. So this makes sure that we are reaching on every milestone, and that gives a very good feedback also. Like let's say even after the first milestone, if we are thinking this has taken the longer time that we predicted, so then the team has the chance to recorrect it, and then in the future we can correct it, and so that on the end product will be most likely to launch in the timeline. Then third is bubble chart. So far we have seen the analysis again in the two-dimensional scope, where we have the on x-axis maybe the years, on the y-axis we have the revenue. But in real-time settings, it's very important for the larger data set to get the correct understanding. So this is the bubble chart. If I quickly walk through this example, this chart bubble chart I have been taking from the online source. So let's consider this on x-axis, this A, B, C, D, E. These are 5 companies, okay? And on the y-axis we have the revenue part, and this is the two-dimensional, like so far we have discussed. But the benefit of bubble chart is that we have the bubbles also here, and bubbles not only they are representing the products of particular company, but also the size of bubbles also important. So in this section we can have 3 to 4 different parameters, and with that we can do the better analysis about how actually we can uh, present the present the analysis to the broader team. Let's say in this picture, the on the extreme right and the top, the orange color bubble, it's having the highest market share with the size of bubble that I'm saying. Okay, and then again it's having the highest sales also. So let's say the broader team or even the stakeholders want that, no, we don't want the information across the companies. We want of which are the products of my company only, which I need to look at through the different region. Then quickly we can change the parameters and we can get the actual inputs. So bubble chart will play an important role in fetching the real time analysis. So again, creating any dashboard or any application, it's very important that the person should know what requirement is there. Like let's say if a person wants to develop application which is again related to the either diagnostic tools, like if the patient wants to record if the person wants to record the blood pressure levels or the sugar levels, then it's important that application is designed in such a way, like, or if there are any telemedicine applications or the patient uh, prescription management application that we are looking, then it's again based on the need. Like but at the end, if I want to conclude, the data visualization will play a very significant role as is been playing now, and it will be very important with the data driven age, where we need to take decisions more accurately and in a very quick amount of time. So yep, that's it from my side.
Thank you, Shivam. That was really extremely informative. I mean, I had no idea there was a heat map on bloating, acidity, and stuff like that. I'm pretty aware that now I might just be on a list sometimes.
Definitely.
But however, I mean, I think it's oh, we are back.
Oh, great.
I think it was really insightful the way to know that data is being captured in that form and in so many other forms, just to keep a track and make it so much easier. Uh, I don't think a lot of people are aware of that. And thank you for giving us that insight. And also, would you like to share any any of your insight on the same of what's happening with these charts? Is it going somewhere? Is it good? Is it actually helping? If you could give a little bit uh, of your
Yeah,
opinion?
definitely. So, see, the requirements for any type of charts or data visualization is industry specific and depends the company to company, right? But if I'm talking in a broader sense, that these data visualizations are playing a lot of role because earlier we can look at the data from the patient's point of view only, like in particular region, how many patients are there or how many revenue are we getting for a particular product. But now uh, we can simultaneously see in particular region how much revenue is coming and simultaneously how many patients are there. So and then again there are other aspects also, like particular product, what market share is it having in that particular region, is there any other supplementary event that has been leading us to the a different type of revenue, like there can be the uptake or downside of the revenue. So yes, definitely data visualizations are playing a role, and it's it's across the industry. Data visualization is making buzz.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much, Shubham, for joining us
thank
today
you.
as well.
Thanks, Adrika.
So we have our next speaker with us. Aleena happens to be a tech savvy dental surgeon who loves to paint and write, which is an amazing combination. Aleena, good to have you on board. How are
Hi,
you?
thanks for having me here. I'm good.
So, how would you like to explain this being a dental surgeon and then painting and writing?
It's just a hobby.
Yeah,
Well, even a dentistry is an innovative profession,
correct.
so it all gathers in one place.
So, do you get enough time for those?
Yeah, absolutely. Hobby always has a time. It
That's
has to be given.
that's
That is what.
you
Yeah.
like it at the end of the day.
Yes.
Awesome. So, Aleena, as we know today, you're going to talk about how tech and innovation can disrupt the healthcare sector. So, over to you. We would love to know a little more about you and what you have to say. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. Without taking much of time, I would like to start with the presentation. Um, so, I am Dr. Aleena Khatib, a dental surgeon. Thank you for having me here. And today I'll be discussing how tech and innovation can disrupt the healthcare sector under the topics healthcare sector, healthcare pre COVID, impact of COVID, and disruption in healthcare. Well, what is healthcare sector? The healthcare sector contains a diverse array of industries with activities ranging from research to manufacturing to healthcare facilities and management. But as a doctor, I would like to share more about healthcare facilities that include hospitals, clinics, laboratories, psychiatric facilities, and nursing homes. Well, before COVID, the situations were a little different. Healthcare sector was and still is least digitalized as compared to others. Like every other individual, even some doctors are very reluctant to bring changes and making some changes in the society. Like COVID, but COVID helped in adapting the changes as they were left with no choice, and there was lack of infrastructure to accommodate the changes back then. Well, now the situations are different. Though COVID was disastrous, no doubt, and impacted all of us in some or the other way, but here I'll be more focusing on the positives that it has brought into our lives. Well, it has made us realize that at some point, technology can serve as a lifeline for people. It was a watershed moment for digital healthcare, where data driven handling of COVID cases and decision making was possible. With the help of analytics and data modeling, with the help of mobile applications to monitor quarantine individuals. Well, digitalization by maintaining all records, data like important information regarding patient's condition, how it needs to approach for providing better treatment. Applications and softwares were running all over the world by doctors to monitor quarantined individuals. Patients were able to take online consultations. Doctors, scientists, research teams working all over the world were able to keep in touch, maintaining lockdown scenario. Well, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, not the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. So, this COVID brought so many changes and made us realize that change is the only constant. Now I'll be discussing about what I foresee in healthcare sector, which is a very important topic here: disruption in healthcare, advancing personalized care. So there is the increase in available data, testing capabilities, and cutting edge technologies mean that we may finally be entering the long promised golden age of personalized healthcare. By better understanding an individual's genetic profile, more effective therapies can be used. For example, in future, before treating any woman for breast cancer, a genetic test could determine what genetic variations are present. The internal complications could be diagnosed. This is all because of the technology and the tech that is coming into our lives. And yes, moving to the next point is digital health or telehealth, connecting patients directly to doctors in far health facilities. Basically, that means patients sitting in rural areas can directly connect with the patients in urban areas. It will become much easier using mobile technology to centralize expertise, which help to avoid unnecessary referrals and reduce cost for the patients. Well, the next slide moving on is streamlining healthcare services and driving operational effectiveness. Automation. Automation will help in day to day activities. Now, what automation basically is, for example, remote surgical robots. A surgeon from UK actually was able to successfully remove the liver of an animal from 30 miles away. Well, other easy example can be like if a patient is in a situation of emergency and needs an ambulance, it is going to take plenty of time for the ambulance to reach. The treatment needs to start and everything, all this scenario. This is an underlying gap where automation can be of use. Now, this is another important empowering patients. As technology becomes standardized, patients will gain more and more control over their health information. That is how it works in a way that patients already gather some amount of information personally before reaching the doctor. That is what is happening nowadays in our society. How this helps is they are already aware about the situation and have a rough idea about it, which helps in better understanding and unnecessary referrals. Like such thoughts come into patients' mind, like after consulting one doctor, they have doubt in their mind and they want to refer another and another and another. It takes plenty of time, and this goes on. Now, healthcare on demand. This healthcare should be a hassle-free on demand service. This will be a game changer in the healthcare domain. This is a very important point because basically the healthcare service should be on our fingertips. Any emergency, any instant care, like there has to be less period of time and less wastage of time. Lastly, goals of innovations. Well, goals of innovations, it basically revolves around consumers, that are patients. Patients' convenience, comfort, compliance, and their satisfaction is the end term motto. Well, it is the most important part basically. I would like to end with one of my favorite quotes: innovation is the ability to see change as an opportunity, not a threat. Thank you. And any questions regarding, please go
Awesome.
ahead.
Lena, I think the last quote really got me that it's not a threat. I think
Yeah,
that's
that people
most
still need a lot of awareness nowadays.
correct, correct. I think any people are very uncomfortable with changes, right? I mean,
Yeah,
even if today we compare it to something like we are talking about healthcare at tips, right? At your fingertips, in a way.
yeah.
When we were talking about fintech on fingertips was also pretty scary because people wouldn't trust the process of a Google Pay or a Phone Pay. Because and even now, if we talk to our elders and we say we are just gonna scan and pay, it is there's still so much of uh, I don't know, anxiety within them.
But now eventually it
Right.
has brought such big drastic change in
Exactly. I
society.
think that's where we are at, even with healthcare right now. I think change is a little skeptical for people, but I think it's going to eventually happen and probably be for the best. Like you said, an ambulance shouldn't be so far. If somebody needs to be treated immediately, they should get that help at that given point of time. So yeah,
That is where awareness comes in action.
exactly. Awesome. Thank you, Aleena, for joining us today. It was great to have you on board. You have any Anything else to add to what you just said, or that's all?
No, that's all. I hope I have made my points clear.
It was very clear. It was a very good presentation. Thank you so much, Aleena.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are done with all of our expert talks. Right now, we will be moving on to the last section of this meetup. That would be the panel discussion. And joining us for the panel discussion is Amit Jain and Gaurav Porwal. However, I won't be the moderator for the same. Pramada will be taking care of it. Welcome back, Pramada. Welcome back, Gaurav and Amit.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah, over to you, Pramada. Maybe you can start with the questions, and then if the audience has some questions, we'll be asking them to also just put that up on the chat box, and we can take it from there.
Sure, sure, Adrika. Okay, so now that we had lovely speakers from both the sides, tech side, and also somebody who is doctor who has been helping all of us living a quality life, and we have read about and understood how data security is important. I think this is a time where I'm going to shoot some questions in front of our two speakers and quickly try to gauge what they have to share. So I'll start with my question because I shared something around digital healthcare card, and also I shared something what India has been doing and what Narendra Modi is trying to come up with telehealth medicine applications, and we have Ayushman Bharat program. There is a lot of things going on, and government is certainly requesting for companies like GeekyAnts, startup companies to come forward, share the load, and do something great and show the entire world that India is not only into technology, but yes, we can make life of our people very simple, and of course give a quality healthcare to all the citizens. So moving on around that, my first question is going to be, I think Amit, you can take that question, and then I'll pass it on to Gaurav to you. Uh, so my first question is, are we ready to take up digital healthcare challenges? And what are the gaps currently in the ecosystem that you see as the tech into healthcare?
Thanks, Pramada. Thanks for shooting up a question first to me and then let Gaurav answer it again. I'll share my thoughts about it. Yes, we are now the what we have seen it, right? The pandemic and the other circumstances, right? It is actually forcing, and it's a global trend where we see that the we have to build the ecosystem which is digitally, which is ready to take the digital healthcare systems, accept the digital health informations, right, and share the information, put the information on the fingertips, right. So this is a trend, and it's going to happen. Today maybe there are some restrictions are holding back from certain classical or older thoughts, but it's going to happen, it's going to change. We have seen it, we have seen the fintech, how it has changed the digital currency. It has become a trend, right. So it is going to be it's going to be there in the system, it's going to be a practice and accepted globally. So I'm quite positive about it and encouraged about it, and I see the excitement around the world there because it helps. It makes the life easy. It makes the information easy. It makes the process easy, right?
Sure.
So I see this is going to happen for sure.
Yes. So, Amit, adding to your what you said, I think all of us are ready to take up that challenge,
Yes.
and we are there. Gaurav, over to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Amit has rightly pointed out that we are on a path where we are inculcating the healthcare industry and moving towards that, and solving a lot of problems at the same time. Like one of the major challenges which we saw in the pandemic was like network issues and the Zoom meeting, right, and which has led to a lot of online consultancy has started, right. And this is a push towards the digital healthcare, and this is what we needed, right? Now I don't have to sit in, like if somebody is ill in my house, right, and I have to initially what used to like call the ambulance and they used to come and then pick up, right? But right now I can just go on digitally and chat a video call with the doctor or consult with him, right? And it's just 5 minutes task for me, rather than like 30 minutes waiting for the ambulance and coming in and then going to the hospital. So the healthcare, the digital transformation has actually speed up the way the consultancy has been. Plus also it there are like a couple of challenges also from the rural side, like since in the tier one we are able to access this digital things frequently, like, but if you go to the rural area, there are still the issue of the network, right? The people don't have the smartphone. So those are also the road blockers which I see, which we need to work towards. We have to build more smartphones which are very handy and which can support this digital transformation which we are doing at GeekyAnts, right? So those things has to be pushed by the government. I think they are already taking a lot of measures in bringing cheaper smartphones which are capable with all the in like today's technology, edge tech, cutting edge technologies like video calls and everything. So there's a mix and match of the things, but I believe that we are heading towards the right direction where digital healthcare is been booming and people are slowly adapting them, and people are also more and more becoming addicted to the online consultancy, right? Rather than and plus another point which I feel personally is that with online consulting you can see the reviews of the doctor, so you can get a trust factor right in there itself by seeing the ratings and the reviews which the other patients or the people have shared. So those are the plus points which I feel which the healthcare is bringing in with the digital transformation.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I believe that if you look at the consumer of the data or the consumer of the smart devices, right, they are equally available in they presence in the tier B, C, and D cities also. Right now, the mobile usage is not a new thing, or it's not on the high tech. It's everyone is having a WhatsApp. Everyone is making a voice calls, video calls, and all. So they are well aware of it. And I see there's a government push where it's, apart from the basic necessity, the internet is also becoming a basic necessity of your life, and they are reaching out with the digital the connectivity with every village and town where you will have the internet connectivity. And so once we have that kind of reach or networks, right, which we see it's there now, it's growing well, right? This will be again become a acceptance to do the telemedicine and consulting with the remote areas and all, right? We have seen during pandemic, right, where the teachers sitting in some metro cities, he is taking a classes of the schools which is in villages basically, right, where it is difficult to reach also, but they are all doing it remotely. And so, right, so the network makes the life easy, and the quality for the it affect or it impacts the villages also where these facilities can be reached, right? Even we see today, right, in our area, in our era, was when we were preparing for the competitive exams and all, right, we have to be in there certain cities, to attend this, right, to get prepared for it. But now we see that it's everything remote. You need not to travel, you need not to visit, you need only a smart device, and everyone has internet at home, right? Things has become accessible, things has become cheap, education has become cheap, right? The cost of the preparation at our time and now, it's basically, it's not changed, actually it has come down, what I see, right? So it has actually impacted a lot, it has reduced the cost, right? Same thing I see it is going to happen for the medical industry also, where we see the cost of treatment will go down, facility will become better, right? Because the burden on the shoulder, what we right now we have it on our doctors and all healthcare providers, right? It's too much, right? So once we see the automations and things like this which is coming up, health analytics and all, right, it's going to reduce the burden from them, right? The facility will be available for the larger audience, for the larger patients, right? So it would help, it's going to help a lot to the patients, and the better treatment will be in a reach to the common man people also.
Sure, sure. I think, yeah, I will take a little diversion. I would quickly ask Gaurav, since you have been working in healthcare what is the solution you have built at GeekyAnts that has certainly you have seen yourself that it has reduced the healthcare cost and the entire operations, day-to-day operation of a patient with your solutions that you have built at GeekyAnts? Can you quickly throw some light on this?
Yeah, sure, Pramada. So at GeekyAnts, we've been trying to build a geek care solution, which we call it. Like it's basically a telemedical application where we are trying to bridge the communication gap between the doctor and the patient, so that end user can sign up quickly within few couple of steps, right? With mostly using Google sign up or phone number, and they will be able to consult and share their issues with the doctors, right? And there we have a video call feature, audio call feature, so they can easily talk to them, and they are like even if they are not comfortable in sharing their voice or video, they can even chat and share the files with the doctor, right? So there are various aspects we have considered when building this geek care solution, which is bridging the gap of communication plus bridging the way the people used to trust the doctors. Like if you go to any like hometown, like the people who are into the healthcare or doctors, they will be getting more and more customers. But with this tele gig care, we are giving lot of opportunity to the individual doctors or consultants who is running their own clinics, right? They can also sign up to this gig care, and they can showcase they are qualified, because we show the complete profile of the doctor, what is their degree, what all they have achieved so far, what is their qualification, right? What are they specialized in, what are the practices which they've been following for so many years, reviews and background check happen. So there are a lot of things which the geek care provides, and this will eventually bridge the gap which and boost the healthcare industry.
Sure, the apps that you are building are certainly scalable, right?
Yes,
Uh,
yes, yes.
could you talk about a little bit of technology preference that you have taken to build those apps?
Yes, sure. So the tech side of it, like we are mostly going with the infrastructure like AWS, where we will be hosting our most of the components will be coming from AWS, and also to make the backend development super fast, super scalable, we will be using things like Hasula and Node.js, right? So that Node.js basically and uh, is known for its input output efficiency, right? So the number of requests which will be coming in can Node.js can easily handle. So this system which we are building is for can be easily be used by millions of users at the same time. And we will be using a lot of things like Docker, Kubernetes for the deployment purposes, but plus we will be using Redis cache to make sure that the API response is fast enough, in like we are sending the response within milliseconds, right? And on the front end side, we are using Next.js, so that there has lot of inbuilt capability which the server side props rendering of the React brings in. Plus we can also have a reverse proxy which in turn help us with the security aspect of the application, because nobody will be knowing like to which port we will be again talking to our backend. So these all things, like as I mentioned in our in my HIPAA compliance, like in today's talk, like the security aspect is already being considered, and where we have a lot of one single API gateway who will be talking to the front end application, and the API gateway will be having deployment in the Kubernetes cluster, and each cluster will be having different pods, right? So there are a lot of different pieces of the technology we are bringing together into this geek platform, and try to make it as scalable as possible and as secure as possible, right? So that the privacy policy of the users has to be taken at most care in geek care. That's the vision for our.
Yeah. What I could gauge, Gaurav, is yes, we are ready for the challenge,
Yeah.
certainly. Yes. Now, my next question to probably Amit, you can take up. Uh, as I spoke initially, that Narendra Modi had come up with one nation, one health card. And I did share my thoughts that this healthcare ecosystem is still very, very complicated because we have different stakeholders. We have patients, providers, pharmacists, labs, and there are different touch points, right? How these different stakeholders come to a one platform, is actually very complicated. And that's where, if government is trying to do something, coming up with a national health card, uh, see, implementation of Aadhaar card was seamless if I have to compare with implementation of a health card. But do you think, uh, is this going to be very easy for the government to take up, or what are the challenges government is going to face?
I think our government has already an experience, to run such programs on the large scale, right? Let it be a PAN card or Aadhaar card or the pandemic, the dosage for the. So we have seen that government is able to successfully, run these programs, and definitely yes, bringing all the touch points to the common platform, right? To submit the data, to share the data, right? So that the profile, the medical or the healthcare profile of a person can be built over the period of time. And it's going to be because right now either the data is lying dead with these touch points, because once it is used nobody is caring about it, or these data is there with the insurance companies uh, where you claim your expenses, right? Hospitalizations and all. But other than that, there is no use of the data right now. But yes, this data is actually nothing but a gold mine, which can be, mined to build your profile, your health profile, and that's every citizen's rights to, carry his own profile, right? And so that he can claim or he can utilize his data, right? So to get the better medical facilities from it. So I'm sure with the vision of our prime minister, yeah, it's going to be again of the primary or the basic right of the person, where he can carry his own medical history, medical data along with him, right? In the form of card, basically. And these cards may be linked together with the Aadhaar card, and certain security aspects can be built on top of it, right? Before we share data with somebody. I'm confident this is going to happen, because we have seen this trend is happening globally, and it is a need in our country for sure, right? Because
Yes.
this reduces a lot, and this reduces the burden from the healthcare industry a lot. It helps to the citizens also, so to get the better treatment at the cost-effective price, right? So I'm confident about it. It's going to happen for sure.
Yes. Certainly, Amit. I think yes, and I think companies like startups, companies like GeekyAnts, we should certainly take part and register ourselves and see how we can contribute to this cause.
Yes, I think it's everyone's responsibility, right? From the healthcare plus the IT sectors, right? So we should contribute towards a good cause, basically. So I believe that it's our responsibility also equally to contribute and participate as much as possible.
Okay, Gaurav, again the same on the same lines, but I know that you have been building apps for clients, but you treat yourself as a government and you have been given this chance to implement the entire process, make it digital. So, do you think is it an easy task, or it's going to take little much more time to mature?
Definitely it takes some time. It takes time in brainstorming how you could structure the data for 138 crore people, because that's a number at that scale we work in India, right? So we have to make sure that our infrastructure is able to suit that number of traffic, right? And the major challenge which I see is that right now every organization or every hospital is maintaining their own data, and they have their own structure in maintaining the database, right? And to bring into at the national level, we need to make sure that the data which is there at the hospital are also getting synced with other hospital data, right? The synchronization process will be a challenging job from my perspective, from the technical perspective, what I can see, right? And because if you go from one state to another, the policy changes, the regulations changes, right? And to bring at the national level, the challenges will be to sync, and how and at the same time how to scale also, because we are a population of 108 crore people. So even if there's a 1 MB 1 KB file, you can imagine like how much data we are talking about, right? The records, health records which we are generating at every day. So the government mostly will be focusing more of the infrastructure layer, like how to scale and how to bring all the uh, hospitals and organization at one place without losing track of anything, right? Existing system should work on top of that, the new platform should come into picture. So that ease of transaction will come only when there's a smooth data syncing process happening between the organizations, right? And that's where standard protocol has to be set up by the government, like and rules has to be set up that you have to transform your data in a particular format and then sync to our databases, right, the national databases. So those are the things which I see from my point of view the government must be doing at their end, right? And that will take some time and brainstorming, uh, Pramada. Without that, if they just do it, then I know it's gonna collapse. So government will take some time to brainstorm, to architect the things, and then once that is done, then I think it will be very easy to merge all of the hospital data and to bring and achieve this health one ID card for each individual. And to be honest, I've been looking forward, because whenever I do a medical checkup from one city to another, they ask my health records, and I have to bring all my like physical copies I have to bring, right? I'm just looking for that I can scan a QR code onto a government or the hospital, and I can share the my private files to them, right? That's what I'm looking forward with the government as well, and I believe they will be able to achieve, and we will be able to contribute in that as well.
Yes. Government has announced a budget of 500 crores, and there are I think more than 200 companies already registered working towards this cause. And we are also indirectly working with couple of companies where we are trying to eradicate a couple of diseases. How to eradicate, how to communicate, how do we ensure that medicines are reached to the people at the right time with the use of technology. And yes, I think if all of us have our own health card, we can certainly gauge and understand. Of course, one of those challenges at healthcare is reducing the healthcare cost. And when we go from one hospital to another hospital, and if our doctors can look at our health records digitally, then we don't have to do the entire tests from one hospital to another, because you keep on burning some cost to it, right? And this is a major challenge, reducing healthcare costs, because if you actually look at the operational cost of running the hospitals, it is going really low. They are not making money. If you look at those operational cost of these hospitals, it's huge. And that's where there are many hospitals coming up with the home care solutions, where they are asking companies, the tech companies, to come forward and build some solutions where home care solutions can be given. The entire setup can be ready outside of your hospitals, and people can given the right care by giving the right monitoring systems. So yeah, I think we all have to play a very important role as a tech companies. I was attending one of the conferences in Delhi. There, people said that these engineers, they learn only engineering, but I think with the engineering, it is very important that the right education on the medical should be given to those engineers, because they are going to connect the dots. They are the people who will help doctors to solve those problems, right? And that's where GeekyAnts is trying to do something, connect the medicine and technology together, right? And I want to share my personal experience also. During Corona, I was expecting my second baby, and to be honest, I never get to meet my doctor personally. He was not willing to meet me. So all my, meeting with my pediatrician happened, gynecologist happened online. I had to go to hospital, do the scan, upload, which is automatically updated on the system, and then you meet your doctor. So yeah, digitally it's all going, but I'm little concerned about what's happening in the village, what's happening in the rural areas, and we have to build something to help those people. Yes, I think we have just one last question from the audience, and I think any one of you can take it up. The question is, how do we plan to prevent user authentication deficiencies, endpoint leakage, and excessive use of permissions and other vulnerabilities? Uh, Again, linked to some data security questions, but any one of you can take it up.
I think we should have strict HIPAA compliance rules, and we should have more security audit checks of the infrastructure of each and every governing body who is into the healthcare industry, right? Because this is purely the leakage which we see, like, because I have seen a lot of production databases where the people don't even add the normal database username and password security for your databases, right? So this is kind of a leakage which happens from the security tooling. So we should enhance more automated and by default security tools into the infrastructure itself. Like whenever we are deploying any application, right, if we can have, like in the AWS itself, a good security tooling in place which can say these are the vulnerabilities in your existing application, these mitigations can easily be then sent to the developers or the organization. They can fix them, right? So people has to be educate them, like what are the vulnerabilities which can happen in their applications, and if we educate them, then definitely they can fix them. So from my perspective, it's more of a security tooling which you are putting in place when dealing with this kind of data leakage.
And my thought is around basically what you said is right, just security leakage, and then we have to. So basically, what we see today is if you look at any fintech, right, before they launch any fintech app, it has to go under a certain certifications, right? They will actually certify your app, and then then the user is basically confident about it that yes, my data is safe in a safe hand, right? So I think all these apps will go under some sort of certification where they should be able to do the check and balances about the usage of the data and the usage of the permissions. And it's not only at the time of launch. I think periodic audits, for the way we do it for the banks, right? Similarly, we should do a periodic audit for this, that to see that if the permissions and the leakage issues and authentication, if what some similar issues can be identified and can be fixed, reported to the concerned team and fix it. So
Correct,
certain
correct.
certifications would help us. Audit checks should help us. Periodic audit checks should help us, right? Yes, the data it's about your personal data, your healthcare data. Yes, we have to be very sensitive about it when we are building a solution around it.
Certainly.
Absolutely, Amit. Like as I mentioned, like we should be having periodic HIPAA compliance checks for all the healthcare industries, right? Whoever into the healthcare industry, if we are following strictly the what HIPAA compliance are saying, then this leakage won't happen because HIPAA is there for to mitigate all these problems itself.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So we have so much of insightful information and so much of uh, understanding around digital healthcare. I mean, that's it from our side. Adrika, over to you.
Hi. That was a great panel discussion session. I think all the questions which were asked were extremely relevant, and I think it's on everybody's mind as well. Thank you for answering them so well, Amit and Gaurav. Thank you, Pramada, for the coordination for the panel discussion. I think the biggest issues healthcare is currently facing at the end of the day is cost, transparency, consumer experience, and data accessibility, right? And I think our talks pretty much covered all of that and where we are going with that. We can probably conclude that artificial intelligence, machine learning, and augmented reality, everything is an extremely critical tool right now for the healthcare providers and the organization to perform better going forward. And I think we should be having more and more meetups just to understand and form a community around this space, a safe space where we get to talk about these things and understand and learn from each other and grow further better. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to start a healthcare community and make this a safe space for all of us to come and share all the details and information we have about healthcare. Um, Thank you so much for everybody who joined us online today. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Gaurav, Shubham, and Aleena. Um, are they there? Yeah, I can see you guys.
I was just about to type,
Yeah,
like already did actually.
yeah. No, we were so glad to have you on board. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking your time out on a Saturday afternoon. I'm sure this must have been a very insightful session for every one of us. I think we
Yes.
all gained and shared from each other. Let's look forward to more meetups, and I'm sure I'll be seeing these faces again for another healthcare meetup pretty soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
So don't
Thanks,
forget.
everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
It was
Good
a
weekend.
wonderful
Bye.
experience. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.